everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Physical Media. I am your host, John, and this is the weekly show where we talk everything in the world of physical media and in the world of film. And it was a very slow news week this week, I'm not going to lie to you guys, but we did have some pretty big announcements, and the biggest one came very early in the week. I mean, this isn't even an official announcement, but we've had this happen with such films as Amadeus and Constantine, where it gets leaked and then it gets confirmed not too much longer down the line, and that is that the Nightmare on Elm Street 7-film collection is going to be coming to 4K Blu-ray sometime in 2025, courtesy of Warner Brothers, which at first I was like, oh yes, it finally got confirmed. And I was thinking, it kind of sucks that I bought a Nightmare on Elm Street on 4K Blu-ray last year. I really thought that they were going to do everything but the original Nightmare on Elm Street series. It's very similar to like what they do with Jaws, how Jaws never gets packed in with Jaws 2, 3, and 4 because Steven Spielberg made like a deal with Universal. Like Jaws is its own entity. Like it's on its own. Like, yeah, you can make some sequels, make your money. And I know a lot of people, including my buddy David, aka Shamrock Balls, the co-host of the Let's Talk Movie podcast, who loves those Jaws sequels, but even he recognized, like, the original Jaws is an all-time film. And I think it's very similar with the Nightmare on Elm Street films, where the original, it's an all-time classic. And then there's people like myself who believe that A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, you know, it might not be as good as the original film, but it's still a great horror film. And then I feel like the sequels, like A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I try all the time. There's some things in that movie I really appreciate. It doesn't click for me. Nightmare on Elm Street 4 is horrible. At least they're going for something with the fifth film, Dream Child, but again, it's just like so Looney Tunes and off the walls that it's like, you know, I mean, I get what you're going for. I appreciate the effort, but it doesn't entirely work. And then I have a super soft spot for Freddy's Dead. I just think that movie is very, very, very entertaining. Is it a good Nightmare on Elm Street film? No, it's almost a parody of all the other Nightmare on Elm Street films, but I guess that's the next logical step after Dream Child is that we have to go forward and, you know, now we're just making these movies where Freddy's got a kid. At that point, we have to always justify bringing him back to life. And then, of course, we get 1994's A New Nightmare, which I think is like the prelude to 1996's Scream. Wes Craven had to make A New Nightmare to get his footing together with all the meta horror films that he would make going forward. And, of course, 1996's Scream took a lot from A New Nightmare to give us a great new classic horror franchise in Scream. So I'm really glad to see those are going to be coming to 4K Blu-ray. I hope that the quality of them is good. It is Warner Brothers. And speaking of Warner Brothers, they finally confirmed this week that we were going to be getting Dirty Harry, Pale Rider, and The Outlaw, Josie Wells on 4K Steelbook coming out in April. And we finally got our look at the final artwork for these. And I actually like them. I like all three of them, if I'm being honest with you guys. Now, I know some people are going to be a little bit of a stickler about this, and I have been in the past with such Warner Brothers releases with their artwork where they change things around and they don't use the original artwork. I've complained about that in the past, but if I'm being honest with you guys, I do actually like the new artwork for all three of these films. I think they will stand out. I mean, the colors on the Dirty Harry 4K Steelbook are definitely speaking to me, so I'm happy with all three of them. I'm definitely going to be grabbing all three of them. And one thing that was pretty noteworthy is that they're all going to have Dolby Atmos tracks on it, which is something that's still pretty recently new for Warner Brothers. It's something that they did last year with the Terminator, Blazing Saddles, and North by Northwest. They actually gave those Dolby Atmos tracks. And they also gave them their old audio tracks, like their old original audio tracks. Like, for me, it was a big deal with the Terminator to have that original theatrical audio with the old special effects. I was alternating between that and the brand new Dolby Atmos track, which was very well done. So for these three films to be getting brand new Dolby Atmos tracks too, I imagine that they'll also give us those old original audio tracks as well. Very similar to what they did last year with those three films that also got 4K Steelbook releases. And I'm really glad to see them doing that. They're really going the extra mile. And right now, these are starting at about $35, which is about boutique level prices. And you know what? You're getting some great artwork. I imagine there'll only be one disc, which is a little bit disappointing. That's where they do save money, is by not including those Blu-ray discs. But in comparison to like what Disney likes to do with their 4K Steelbooks, $35, could even go down to $30 before release, is not too bad, and the regular standard editions will probably be in that like $25 to $28 range, which is also not too bad. So I think these will be great 4K transfers, and I do think that, you know, them having Dolby Atmos tracks, and they'll probably have the original audio on there, I do think that that's a pretty fair price in today's market. You know, if they got up to like $40, I'd be complaining a little bit, but $35 for a Steelbook, unfortunately, is kind of the standard nowadays, so I can't complain too much, and I imagine that those transfers will be pretty good. And for my friends in the UK this week, we got a couple of announcements, like Lahain and Throne of Blood from Akira Kurosawa are going to be getting 4K Blu-ray releases over there. We have Lahain already over here on 4K Blu-ray release from the Criterion Collection. It's one of my favorite 4K Blu-rays to come out last year, and I do believe that that is the best looking black and white 4K Blu-ray that I've ever seen. So if you're a fan of that film, you owe it to yourself to see that film. But if you're just a fan of physical media, seeing that movie on 4K Blu-ray is absolutely stunning. And it really does show you that black and white going to 4K. I know a lot of people are like, do you really need to get a black and white film on 4K Blu-ray? Buy Lahain, and I promise you, you will be sold on black and white films on 4K Blu-ray. And then we got our also confirmation on the Sneakers 4K Blu-ray artwork, which is exactly kind of what I expected. It's just the movie poster on the Kino Lorber box art. Still really excited for that. That's coming on April 22nd. And then for my 3D Blu-ray fans out there, Turbine is going to be bringing a couple of 3D Blu-rays to the market. Friday the 13th, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, and Scream 6. And this is awesome for people out there who still collect 3D Blu-rays. I know my buddy John Doe Juggalo, on our channel producer, he still collects 3D Blu-rays, watches them with the entire family. So I know he's got to be thrilled to be getting these movies on Blu-ray. And I think they're going to be coming with Dolby Atmos tracks as well. So really giving the bells and whistles to a format that not many people realize is probably still around, but there are so many fans of the 3D Blu-ray format who still love it. It's one thing I wish they didn't abandon. Now, me personally, not a 3D Blu-ray fan, not really a fan of 3D films in general, but not because I don't appreciate it. It's just because I get motion sickness really bad, and with the 3D glasses, like, I'm sitting there kind of like nauseous the entire time. Even when I see the Avatar films, which are incredible in 3D, that's the only way I personally will go see them. Is I'll go see them in the movies in the 3D on the biggest screen possible, just to appreciate the art of it. Even though I don't really enjoy those films, you gotta admit they're impressive to look at. So for the 3D Blu-ray fans out there, it's pretty cool. You get a couple more movies on 3D Blu-ray, and I'm glad to see them not abandoning that format. And the last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here today is the AMC Stubs A-List and Disney Plus. This week, Disney Plus announced that they had lost 700,000 subscribers, and AMC A-List has been raising their price from about $23 to $26, and there will be a difference in New York and California. Their prices will be a little bit higher because everything in New York and California costs a little bit more on top of everything already costing a little bit more everywhere you go. But why do I want to talk about these two services? Like Disney Plus announcing that they lost 700,000 subscribers in Q1 of 2025. To me, that's not too surprising with the rising costs of streaming services and just the rising costs of everything. I mean, if you guys live in the United States, the rising cost of eggs because of the bird flu is a real issue that's affecting chicken. Tariffs here in this country. Everything is just on the rise, whether it be insurance. Everything is going up and up and up. And because that affects everybody, what's the first place you're going to cut? You're going to cut on the luxuries. You're going to cut on streaming services, and you're going to cut the one that you probably feel like has taken the most money from you without giving you anything back. And Disney Plus has been a consistent one where they keep raising the cost, very similar to Netflix. But unlike Netflix, even though Netflix, I do not agree with them raising their costs to the prices that they have now, Disney Plus has been giving you a lot lower quality shows and movies in comparison to like some of these other streaming services and kind of shoving them down your throat. And now they got their hand out asking you to pick up their tab because you know what, they need to make money for the stockholders, even though they got guys like Bob Iger and all these other CEOs and big shots up at the top of Disney making all of this money. I mean, think about it. Disney owns ABC and ESPN as well. They have plenty of money, but they keep raising the cost for their streaming services. They keep raising their cost. Look what they did last year with Deadpool and Wolverine and Willow on 4K Steelbook. I didn't even pick that up because that price was ridiculous. And, they kind of got their feet dug in on it, and this is what happens. Eventually, the consumer's going to be like, no. This is enough's enough. And I'm really glad to see it because these corporations are just taking full advantage of us. Like, to ask for more money while not giving anything back or giving us anything new is absolutely ridiculous. And then knowing that people in this country or around this world are struggling to pay their bills, their regular bills with the rising costs of everything, and then you guys feel like you need to raise your prices as well when you're Disney and you're paying like guys like over $20 million per year, and you want to take money from people who don't even make $100,000 a year, take more money from them who've been supporting you, like people like me and like you guys buying their Blu-rays, their 4K Blu-rays, since you were a kid, maybe buying movies out of the Disney vault. You love Disney, but to see stuff like this, it is frustrating. I'm glad to see that more people are not giving their money to these corporations and like making the right decisions and being like, okay, there's just way too many streaming services. They cost way too much. I'm going to cut it. I'm not going to use it anymore. And I believe that Disney is one of these corporations that deserves that. They really should be giving more back to their consumer. And if you really are struggling with money like they'll pretend that they are, you have a lot of people making a lot of money up at the top. Stop trying to take it from the bottom. I hate that. that, and it's just a very common practice with all corporations is, leave the, you want to make sure you're turning a profit and giving it to your buddies up at top, and then you'll lay off people at the bottom who are trying to support a family. It's just something that will never not frustrate me, and it just happens right in front of our face all the time. Now, the opposite of that is AMC. Now, I've knocked AMC in the past for like some of their bad decisions, but if they're going to raise the price by $3 a month, well, at least they're giving us something back. You get a fourth movie every single week if you're somebody who goes to the movies that much. Now, I am an AMC A-list subscriber. I believe here, at least where I live, it's worth it because you really get the money back with 2 trips to the theaters, especially if you go to see something in like a Dolby Theater or an IMAX. One ticket where I live is over $20, so $26 a month. I get my money back and then some when I go see 2 movies a month in a Dolby Theater or an IMAX theater. And even in the regular theaters, like the regular laser theaters, those are a little bit expensive as well. And then, of course, concessions are really expensive, but they also give you a lot more points if you're an A-list subscriber. So all the time, I'm getting like $5 off on popcorn. They give me free popcorn and soda for my birthday. Even every few times a year when they come out with a new product, I can try it for free. So that's AMC giving a lot back, which is something I appreciate. Yeah, there are corporations who's made a lot of mistakes as well, but when they do something good like this and give you something while they raise their prices, given, it's kind of a little bit of smoke and mirrors, because how many people are going to the movies 4 times a week? Probably not too many. I know for me, I'll never probably be able to use that 4 times a week thing. I've only used it 3 times in a week once, and that's only because I was on vacation, or else I wouldn't have. For the most part, I only go to the movies once a week, and then, if I'm lucky, I have a little bit more time, I'll go twice a week, but I'm never, getting that full effect where, like, at this point now, you could go see 16 movies in IMAX if you like a month, and you're definitely going to get your money's worth on that. And I'm sure there's people out there who's like, if they're raising my price, I'm going to get my money's worth. But at least AMC, I feel like, is giving something back, where I feel like companies like Disney Plus and Netflix and Hulu, Hulu is owned by Disney, I feel like those companies just keep raising their prices while not giving anything back to their consumers. Like, you're just taking and taking and taking. At some point, you take so much, eventually, people are going to start to resent that, feel bitter about that, and they're just going to turn their back on you. And you know what? They should, and I'm just glad to see that AMC at least added something while increasing their prices. It probably doesn't hurt them to do something like this that much, and they probably do realize that not many people are going to see 4 movies a week. This way they can get more of an income and, at least giving something back to the consumer to make it seem a little bit more worthwhile, which I think is a better business practice than what I see like Disney and Netflix doing. So I just wanted to talk about that. This is a physical media show, but I think this does affect physical media, because if you do collect physical media, you don't have to necessarily worry about having Disney Plus, because you already have all those movies on your shelf, even though the quality of like some of that stuff we've talked about in the past might not actually be as good as the streaming service, which is intentional on that part as well. But I just wanted to point that out. I thought it was something that was kind of fun to talk about, especially since it was a little bit of a slow, I guess it's not fun to talk about, I don't like to see rising costs. I want everybody to, live a very comfortable life and still be able to afford, all this great physical media, TVs, great sound system, so you can enjoy a movie at home and in the theater. That's all I ever hope for. And, just live comfortable lives. I don't think it's too much to ask for, but apparently it really is. So anyway, I just want to talk about that before we got out of here today. I hope you guys really enjoyed this week's show of Let's Talk Physical Media. We also have new channel memberships, so we've made some changes. So if you want to become a friend of the channel for only 99 cents a month, you get access to a couple of new videos, or you can even become a producer where you'll have access to everything that's in that previous tier, and you also will have early access to our videos, and you'll be entered into our 4K Blu-ray giveaway that we do each and every single month, which brings us to the $9.99 tier, the director's tier, where you'll find Kevin Kruger. And Kevin Kruger actually is going to be donating the Constantine 4K Steelbook to our channel members 4K Blu-ray giveaway that we do at the end of each and every single month. The one that we'll be doing the first Tuesday of March, we'll be doing that members giveaway, and Constantine will be one of the movies you get to choose from. So thank you so much, Kevin, for donating that 4K Steelbook to us. That's something we'll be giving away. And then there is one more tier above the director's tier, and that's where you're going to find our bankroll members of Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews and Mr. Smelly Potato. That's for $24.99 a month, and of course you get a little bit extra there. You'll have not only your choice reviews like the directors, but you'll also have your choice video that we'll do, every other month about. Like, we're going to start those in March for our channel bankroll members, and you also have access to the schedule, what we'll be doing, and your input goes a little bit further. But guys, if you have no money to throw away, don't worry about it all. Just want to give you guys that information. We just hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys around.